Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Strauss Company for the first of our Zoom talks of 2021. It's wonderful to be here. It's wonderful to have everybody here. These are being recorded. So if you are not here, please be sure to consult our YouTube channel where you can find our Zoom talks from last year, as well as a bunch of our specialists talking about the highlights of our current online sale, which is currently on the go, ending on Monday night. And it features modern, post-war and contemporary art, decorative arts, jewelry and wine. And I'll just repeat, that is closing on a Monday evening. So today we're going to be running through, today we're going to be joined by Wilhelm van Rensburg, my colleague in Joburg, and my colleague from the Decorative Arts Department, Sophie Louise Froelich. Thank you both for joining us today. So just as a way of an introduction, I thought it would be quite apt this year to start with an exercise in I suppose looking and negotiating our way through these online auctions. So I came up with I suppose a thought experiment that we're going to run through today, and that is, what would you do with a budget and allowed to set loose on the sale? What would I do with the budget? I think so many times people come to us as auctioneers and they say, well, what is good to buy? And we say, well, I suppose there's such a variety of wonderful objects, wonderful pictures, as well as fine jewelry and decorative arts, specifically silver in the sale, as well as wine. So I thought, well, let me start with the budget, and I suppose it gives me an opportunity to trace the ambit of the sale. I think there might be one or two overlaps with my colleagues, because I know our interests diverge, which is fantastic, because then they can interrupt me and we can speak about some of the objects that have caught my attention. So I'm going to just flip over here, and we're going to share my screen. Can everybody see my screen? Fantastic. Let me just make sure that the participants are up here. Right. So I just thought we'd start off with some of the sort of exceptional works that I've seen on the sale. And now I know this works, these series of works that I'm going to be discussing, you can see also Wilhelm speaking about them on our YouTube channel, and he speaks about Julius Mfethe as being one of the progenitors of South African realism, which I thought is a wonderful way of looking at and understanding these beautiful objects. And I think why I wanted to pause, and we've got up until I think the past 3 or 4 years, Julius Mfethe has been largely overlooked in the mainstream canon of South African art history, and has really come to renewed attention for the meticulous nature of his objects. And I suppose Juliet Armstrong, who was a ceramics professor at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, said that it wasn't necessarily only his fidelity to his subjects, but it was his proportional exactitude that is something that is really startling in works by Mfethe. So what's quite beautiful, I think, in these objects is the way that they are not necessarily static. So they allow for an installative arrangement themselves. Each object comes as an individual part. So you'll notice in the cataloging, and which is why I wanted to keep us on the web page, because I think it's a good place to negotiate the sale from and understand the sale. I wanted to just point out that you can see we've illustrated it in 4 parts, as well as, and so we've got another Mfethe. I think this is a slightly earlier work, which you can see by the aging in the material. And this is a man with a basket, donkey, and a goat. And so I suppose these scenes of rural pastoralism have come, I think, are now popular in the South African imagination, because I think they fill a point of redress where we've come to understand anew these sculptures from our history, as well as I suppose breaking down that old traditional barrier between art and craft, which is so prevalent in the mainstream. So just taking a step back, my budget today is about 200,000 rand, and that just happens to fit in with all of the lots that I like. You know, I think it's it's a good way, I think, to negotiate these online sales, because I think the advantage of them is that we're given a week to have a look at objects, to have a look at, really study what we like. And as I said to you earlier, this is my selection in a perfect world. So moving on, this is a work by Ian Grose. It's the second work that we've had by Ian Grose, a young painter represented by the Stevenson Gallery. And I think I wanted to bring this to our attention, because Ian doesn't work in these kinds of proportions anymore. This is a large painting by Ian's standards. It's 73 by 84 centimeters. And I think of particular attention when appreciating these works is the artist's attention and almost use of light as a subject matter in and of itself. The artist, as he said in one of our Zoom talks from last year, he was very kind enough to join us on a Zoom talk, and he said that very often when approaching his subjects, he spends more time lighting his subjects than he does actually in the execution of the painting, because I think the painting is an intuitive action for him, and once the light is in the right position, I think then it helps in his translation. And I think this is just a particularly moving portrait of these two subjects. It would be remiss of me not to include this watercolor, just a declaration. This is a work by my partner, an early work, who I bring it to our attention, though, just to say that there's a current solo exhibition on at the Norval Foundation in Cape Town. So for those of you that are watching, you can see more of this work at the foundation in Steenberg, and that will be running through till May. But this is a wonderful opportunity for these minor works, watercolors and works on paper, to be presented on the marketplace. Hello? And I think it should be quite exciting to see new bids coming on there. Our next lot, and this is, I included this lot because it's the first of our lots on photography, but it's also, I suppose, a predecessor to our next live online sale, our next live virtual sale that will be taking place from the 11th to the 13th of April. This work, of course, is by Mikhael Subotzky, the Magnum photographer that was, I suppose, propelled himself to flame with his series Die Vier Hoeke, which was, ironically enough, also situated in Steenberg, not far from Steenberg, in Pollsmoor Prison. But this is from his Beaufort West series. Now, the reason that this, as I said, it's a precursor to our coming live virtual catalog sale in April, is because the larger version of this, the original version, if you like, will be on offer in that sale. And this is, I think, a wonderful opportunity for younger collectors to have an opportunity to collect smaller works by Mikhael. This Lightjet C print was actually issued by Magnum as a re-release in editions, and so I think it's quite a highly collectible object. And as I said, a very good opportunity to begin by collecting works of artists of this kind of stature. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a bit of a sucker for objects, and most recently in my own collecting practice, we were lucky enough to purchase a tapestry by coming from Rorke's Drift, and when I saw this, I thought this was such an unusual object. Two bird tapestries, but this time by John Muafangejo. You'll notice John Muafangejo has come to has really seen an upturn in his collectability, and I think these two objects are exceedingly rare in his oeuvre, normally known for his lino cuts. And as I said, I think there's a wonderful materiality to these kinds of works, and something that's not necessarily seen very often by Muafangejo. So that's I think definitely something to keep your eye on. And then keeping in the region, again, this is a lovely stoneware jug, also from the Rorke's Drift area, also from the Rorke's Drift studios, with an obvious relationship to John Muafangejo himself. So I thought this was must be included. I just actually had a look at it. It's some 15 centimeters high and a really delicate object with a wonderful lip, and sturdy handle, yeah, I really think it's a lovely object for those burgeoning ceramics collectors. This is not necessarily my field of expertise, but I'm just going to run quickly through the lots, because if I were shopping for a Valentine's Day present, I would, these are the things that would catch my eye, but I'm going to go very quickly because I think Sophie Louise is going to come back next and speak us through some of these. But I think these Morganite earrings really caught my attention. Just try and, I've just got this in the way. There we go. And this lot 92 ruby and 14 karat gold ring caught my partner's attention. So I just thought I should, she's not bidding for it, so I'd bring it to all of your attention. But Sophie Louise can talk about that. Also, I love these kinds of pendants, and so I thought that I'd share that with you all. And then finally on the jewelry lots, because I don't want to butt into Sophie Louise's topic, but I just thought that I just should draw your attention to the fine nature of these links in this gold chain. I thought it's just a lovely object for you all to have a look at. And then I'm not going to talk about any more jewelry. Sophie Louise, I did want to ask one question. I think this is a nice way of introducing you and handing over. But I made an error earlier today where I sort of rather vulgarly called this object a gravy boat, and I was corrected by our head of department saying that no, we don't talk about gravy boats. We have sauce boats in the decorative arts department. So Sophie Louise, I think with that, I'm going to use this opportunity to hand over to you. Are you able to see your screen? Yeah.
Yeah, can I? Thanks, Matthew.
Thank you very much.
Okay, hang on. Let's just do this. It's my screen sharing.
Oh, yeah, there you are.
You got it. Oops. So I think that was a great introduction, Matthew. Thank you so much for that. And what's really nice is having a man being interested in the silver and the jewelry. I think that's fantastic. So my colleague Vanessa has this amazing selection of jewelry on this online sale. And I think what makes it really special on this online, and we have done it before, is that the jewelry has actually been modeled. When we've got this gorgeous model, Isabella, and I would encourage anyone to go and watch the video, because I think it just gives you a really good idea of seeing the pieces in 3D and how they're worn, and it makes it a lot more accessible in terms of whether you would like to perhaps wear something or not. And it's not just for the old generation, it's also for the younger generation. And I think they make really stunning presents, of course, and if you're adding to your collection. So I'm not going to say too much more about that, but Matthew, if you want to add something at this point, you're more than welcome to. Okay, So on we go.
Sophie Louise, you've got those beautiful hanging earrings you included, and I must just point out that you included that diamond cluster gold ring as well, which is and both of the two rings, from what I understand in the cataloging, so to have a bit of a look, are dress rings. I'm just curious, and you'll pardon my ignorance, but what is a dress ring? Is it an occasional ring? I mean, what's it classified as a dress ring? Is it something to wear out, or it's definitely not an everyday ornament, is it?
I would think a dress ring is something that's embellished in order to make whatever you, so in order to make you look, not you, but whatever you're wearing to complement that. And it is more for an occasion. I do stand under correction, so Vanessa is on the call if she'd like to jump in and correct me if I'm totally off track. But they normally are really beautiful and embellished and quite intricate often, and made to look stunning. So on that note, we move on to the silver. I'm just going to run through a selection of silver that I particularly like on the sale. So we have the William IV silver tea set and nice maker, Robert Makepeace and Richard Sibley. But I think what's lovely about this is the way the pieces have been molded. So you have these beautiful bud finials, and it's really intricately molded all the way around. That's why I put in this insert, because you can't really see it necessarily when you're zoning out of it as it is on this image. But each piece molded in the same style, and it's just got a nice weight to it as well, and really nice if you're looking for something to complement your existing collection. Then the Victorian silver basket and cover, that's just a cute little piece. Again, it got a nice little bud finial, and also what's nice about it is that it actually comes with a cover. So obviously baskets had different uses. You had your bread baskets and your cake baskets and your sugar baskets, etc. So it's nice to have an example which is pierced like this with its original blue liner and swing handle, and has that lovely little finial on top. You wouldn't want a rose bowl. So rose bowls are really popular, and we find they always sell. This is quite a nice big example, tall example, 1905, so early 20th century. And rose bowls are really nice because they work even in today's homes beautifully when you want to just have a nice display and a nice scent in the home. And obviously if you're thinking weddings and along those lines, these would work really well. Pin cushions. So pin cushions are quite interesting actually, because they date back in history, right back to the 16th century more or less. And they've always come in various forms and sizes. And what's quite nice here is we've got a silver plate version, which is the check, and then we've got silver, sterling silver, which are the three little piggies. And pins used to be quite a rare commodity, and they were hard to come by, and thus they were deemed valuable. And so they were often stored in boxes originally made from ivory or different woods, different materials to keep these precious objects safe. But then obviously with the Industrial Revolution, the production of pins became quite easily to be done, and pins became the norm. And that's why the tomato is in the bottom right-hand corner, because in the Victorian times, there was apparently a belief that a tomato placed on the windowsill of a newly acquired home would keep away the bad spirits and just bring, good luck and all of these things. And what they then did is, because tomatoes obviously didn't last forever on a windowsill, they reproduced these with fabrics and sawdust and stuffed them to resemble the tomato. And then these later became used then as a pincushion. And so most of us will know that Granny had a tomato pincushion of some sort or other hidden away somewhere. But what's also nice is if you're looking for to engage, I think, children with silver, it's a nice way to start them off, because most little ones relate quite well to animals, and these are really cute, and they're easily handled. So it's a nice way of introducing them to a a different medium that's older, but in their eyes, perhaps, you know, they can just relate to it a bit better and make sense of it when they grow up and are older. And then we have this little Italian silver coffee service. It's of small proportions, so it's really sweet. It's almost like your doll's house little coffee service, all of silver. And on the other side, we have the George Jensen miniature dishes. So quite nice also because we've got quite a range again. So you've gone from English to the continent and then up to Scandinavia. And what's also nice about the sale is that all of these items are really reasonably priced. So that's very accessible to any pocket. And if you are looking for that little piece to add to your collection, or even as a little present, these would work really well. Candlesticks, there are quite a few, but this is a set of 4, and that's quite nice because it's a big set. So that's quite pleasing to have on the sale, although they are quite late in date, but nonetheless, they give you the look that you might be looking for. And then going to the, well, conjuncting with the wine, the Victorian Sheffield wine decanter wagon trolley and the decanters. So these are quite interesting because they were invented by a man called Edward Thompson, and they were invented around about the 1820s. And apparently this came about because George IV was a little upset because his guests couldn't easily access the wine and couldn't just be given, so you had to, it wasn't easy to pass the wine around the table. So he actually asked for something to be invented in order to alleviate this problem. And so the idea came up, that Thompson came up, was to mount 2 coasters on wheels, and then thus it would be easy to wheel the decanters down the table. So that was their primary use, so to be pass the wine down a long table and around. And it's actually quite clever. And I think in today's world, it's a real novelty item. And it's a great conversation piece, and it does actually wheel properly. I've tried it myself. So it's great fun. And then with that, of course, you'd need bottle coasters. So we've got some nice examples on the sale, 3 in the lots. So that's lot 154. And then to end off, we've got some really nice dishes as well. So a German example as well as an English example. Quite interesting to see them side by side because the German one is a lot more elaborate than the English one in this instance, which of course isn't always the case. But there are nice examples, and we actually have some really nice ones coming up on the April live sale. So if you are looking for dishes, these are a great starting point. And then the April live sale would be where you could get some real stunners. And I won't say more than that. And I will pass on to my colleague, Wilhelm. Let me just unshare my screen. Right.
Wilhelm, are you with us?
Yeah, I am, and I can share my screen, yes.
Sorry, Wilhelm. I'm
no
stuck.
Problem.
Oh dear. What happened here? Oh, here we go.
It's all over to you. There we go.
Thanks.
Okay, so thanks, Sophie Louise. And I thought of just pointing out a couple of my favorites. The first one here is by Japanese artist Shoichi Hasegawa. And it's interesting, he was born in 1929 in Japan. He moved to Paris only in 1961. And then he aligned himself with a famous printing studio run by Stanley William Hayter. Most of the artists at the time studied with him if they were interested in printmaking, and so did Hasegawa. Now, the interesting thing here for me is the different combinations of printing techniques, because when you look carefully, you will see sort of like almost sort of an embossed line through here. And that technique is obviously, you know, obtained by putting literally a piece of string on the paper, and when that is pulled through the press, it leaves that indentation or that embossing mark there. But the other thing, interesting thing is, of course, the very fragile and delicate colors. Hasegawa was very interested in the Swiss artist Paul Klee's work, and those of you who know his art would immediately see the resemblance there. We have two other examples, and I think the easy way to access these would be to look at the title, you know, because then you can start. They're not only these delicate, beautiful light colors, they also signify something here, the rediscovered city in this one, and you can begin to figure out buildings and figures and the likes. These two examples, incidentally, are from the Afrox business. They are moving from their premises in Selby in Johannesburg to new offices in Sandton, and they are de-accessioning a couple of their artworks. The big sculptures, and some of you might recall that in the 80s and 90s, Afrox sponsored a number of sculptural exhibitions. They put people, sculptors such as Eduardo Villa, Johan van Heerden, Ian Reedlinghuis, and Niels Coetzee on the map. And some of those sculptures that landed in their collection will also come up for auction in the near future, but in excellent condition. Often Hasegawa's work in South Africa was, of course, sold through Goodman Gallery, many exhibitions that Linda Givon mounted of his work. And the thing to watch out for would, of course, be the condition. Because the colors are so fragile, they tend to fade quite easily when exposed to direct sunlight. But these two, well, all three examples are in excellent condition. Now, the interesting thing, I mentioned Stanley William Hayter's studio because nobody else but Bettie Cilliers-Barnard also studied under him. This was during her second trip to Paris. She studied there twice. And during the second trip, she then got interested in the graphic arts. He taught her all the different techniques, etching, lithography, and those works do come up from time to time. These two, however, are unique. You can see that from the estimates. Her prints usually go for estimates between 4,000 and 6,000. So lovely examples here with a fine graphic quality that is evident in these two examples. I'm also interested in these four. They are in different lots. It's not a set. They are by Deborah Bell, Ubu, and each one of them was carrying auction estimates of 15,000 to 20,000 rand. And I like them because not only about the subject matter, the Ubu is quite a famous subject matter among South African artists. You think of the collaboration between William Kentridge, Robert Hodgins, and Deborah Bell in 1997, where and this, by the way, was Deborah Bell's contribution to that collaboration. Each one of them produced 8 works, but the others didn't really carry on with the Ubu, except for Robert Hodgins. Many of his paintings are titled Ubu of some or other kind. Ubu, for those of you who don't know, referred to the fictional character invented by Alfred Jarret. He was a French dramatist of the late 19th century, and he wrote plays based on this tragicomic character, so to speak. He had in mind some or other dictator, a lonely man, a vicious man, an evil man, a cruel man, but also on the other hand, a sane man. And Ubu would be, of course, referring to his wife. So these ones are, I think, complex in a different way than to the 1997 contribution that Deborah Bell made. In this one, she referenced sort of like African motifs, traditional African figures, the headdresses, and the likes, and also, of course, referring to many of the civil wars and genocides that is prevalent in African. Just to also show you the other two contributions, the 1997 project. On the left, you have William Kentridge, and a type of self-portrait, I think, overimposed with this line drawing of this Ubu character here. And on the right-hand side, Robert Hodgens's contribution. This portfolio, he chose different historical periods where dictators had them sway. For instance, this one bottom left, the occupation of Paris in 1940 during the Second World War. So it's quite interesting that Deborah Bell then continued with that subject matter later on. Some of you might recall that there was also a most fascinating exhibition mounted at the Gertrude Posel Gallery at Wits round about this time, and it is still in my mind one of the best ever exhibitions that I ever saw in Johannesburg of all time. This is an overlap. Matthew pointed out there might be overlaps. I also chose the John Muafangejo. And the interesting thing for me here is, just as Matthew indicated, it's different. It's unexpected. We expect to see his liner cuts like these two on the online, but not the tapestries. And for me, the interesting thing is the Rorke's Drift Arts and Crafts School started out with tapestry as the main industry, as the most successful, the most economically profitable part of the school. They became very quickly internationally renowned for their tapestries, and the money that was generated by the weaving tapestries, mats, carpets, curtains, and what have you, cross-subsidized many of the other departments later on. The center was opened in 1963, and the art department only started in 1968, and so did the ceramics department. Matthew also mentioned the ceramic piece in his choices, and so it was the weaving that cross-subsidized those other departments. It is interesting because the main person there, of course, was Alina Ndebele, and this is typically of what she wove, what she designed. This is also a tapestry that we sold sometime in the past. And the interesting thing about the tapestry industry there was the completely different way in which they went about weaving their tapestries. Now, the Gobelin, the French technique, you work with a cartoon, you put that at the back of the warp. The weft, of course, would be the color ones, the warp, the very taut, very strong cotton threads, evenly, narrowly spaced out, and then the weft would be the color up and down. And in the Gobelin technique, it is back to front. You know, so you don't know what the front of the tapestry looks like until you cut it off from the loom. And then, of course, when you turn it around, you have something like that. This technique is completely different. There was no, the French technique is also from the bottom upwards. Now, in the Rorke's Drift tapestries, it's from the top down, and they didn't work from any cartoon. They developed the story, often biblical themes, myths and legends of the people in the area and the like. And so you have this organically generated image produced here. And I suspect these two might be some student work that John Muafangejo tried his hand at when he did these two ones. But very charming, and I completely agree with Matthew. The physicality of the object is of those objects are so fascinating. Right, another one of my favorite, completely on the other end of the scale, a contemporary work by a sculpture by Paul Edmunds. He is very fond of collecting found objects, bottle tops, rings, all sorts of things, and he would use these to create his large scale. This one is not large scale objects. So he would use cable ties, for instance, and then devise these monster-like organic large scale sculptures out of them. He would use straws, plastic straws, cool drink straws, for instance, which he would shape in sort of oval, egg-like shapes. This particular example is bronze. It looks like corrugated iron, but it's painted, patinated to look like that, and it is. It's minimalist, and that's, I think, what I like about it. He is also known for his grid-like structures. He also works in the graphic medium and the like. And so you have a lovely minimal sculpture here that comes as a surprise. You know, people think it is a piece of corrugated iron on your coffee table. In the meantime, it's a solid piece of bronze. Lovely work, I think. Catherine Painter, I think an underrated artist. This one is called Achterveld. Achterveld, of course, is an Afrikaans term for the backwater, if you like. You know, the uncultivated platteland, so to speak. But look how beautifully she renders this particular backwater with indigenous plants in the foreground, with that simmering mirage-like water surface there in the middle to background. So it is almost idyllic, an idyllic picture that she paints here. Very finely applied work. And of course, the main thing for me would be the tortoises. I absolutely love them. Okay. And then my last artist is Christo Coetzee. This is another work on paper, podomorphic structure. And look at the other part of the title, homage to Mikhael Tapi de Celeran. And that was, of course, one of his good friends that he met in Paris. He left London for Paris around about that time, 1955, 56, 57. He exhibited, this is now Christo Coetzee, he exhibited at the Gallery Stadler. Here is Rudolf Stadler here. This, incidentally, is Mikhael Tapi, and this is Christo Coetzee's big mentor, Anthony Denis, who put him up in London and who acted as a lifelong mentor, who got him launched, Christo Coetzee launched in the British and the international scene. Now, the interesting thing is that Tapi was the person, when he encountered Christo Coetzee, who immediately thought that Christo Coetzee should go to Japan, which Anthony Denis, again, was instrumental in procuring a grant from the British Council to fund the whole trip. Christo Coetzee was there for a good 10 months, 1959 to 1960. He exhibited there, and he aligned himself, very importantly, with the Gitai Art Association. Now, the Gitai Art Association, the word itself, Gitai, means the physical embodiment of the materiality of the art materials, if you can imagine something like that. And so you would have Gitai artists such as Kazu Shiraga, who would literally dip his feet in paint, and he would be swung over the canvas, and the paint would be spread over in some sort of organic way across the canvas. And I can't think of a better example that would exemplify what is meant by the Gitai. And you get something like that in these lovely, fresh and free and spontaneous brush strokes here. Now, Tapi, you have to remember, was an art theorist, and he coined a couple of terms, as I pointed out there at the top, art outre and art informel. Now, these were the European versions of what I think you and I would know as abstract expressionism. That, of course, that term was extensively used in America, but the Europeans, they were not far behind, and they had, according to a style that was called art autre, art of another kind. That is what that means. Art informel, what that means is unformed or formless art. It doesn't mean informal. And he had some very weird and esoteric and absolutely outrageous theories. And I just pulled out one or two of some of the things that he theorized about. The authentic individual is not imprisoned by his past, but rather by his becoming. And I think that becoming is probably also linked to our understanding of Gita, you know, the physical embodiment of the materiality of the art materials. Just look at the next one, totally outrageous. When form transcended is heavy with the possibilities of becoming, it will be fully elaborated between the terms of the risk this ambiguity sets up. Offering itself as marvelously contained in what will always be for man the most intoxicating mystery of all, the imperishable with nothing but its becoming, the human condition with all the fantastic marvels it can claim, marvelous trails of strength in which an aesthetic dynamism can reach the heights of a transfinite that wholly resolves the concepts of beauty, mysticism, mystery, eroticism, even of aesthetics. Totally outrageous, but I think what he was, and completely esoteric, but I think he was suggesting something about, you know, if you want to visualize the metaphysics, how would you go about doing that? And I think then he came up with theories such as this. The last lot from the online sale that I want to point out are these three very charming works, again by Christo Coetzee. They are oil on card, and they are 20 by 10 centimeters each. And the interesting thing is about these, that he used these as invitations to one of his exhibitions at the University of Stellenbosch. So legend has it that he made about 1,000 of these and that he posted them. So in a way, you can also call this mail art, M-A-I-L, mail art, which is very popular nowadays under COVID, where artists would, of course, explore different platforms to show their work. So this would be sent in the mail to the people. And they are miniatures. Now, there are a couple of things about the scale here. The Gitai, remember, they were in Japan, and the Gitai made an explicit point of letting the West know what they were about, letting the West know that they were also part of this mainstream abstract expressionist movement that swept the world in the late 40s, 50s, and early 60s. And they couldn't transport, they didn't have the funds to transport their huge outside canvases to Europe and to America for exhibitions. And so they would make miniatures of their works, and they would pose that to exhibitions in New York and mainly in Amsterdam with the Zero or the Null group over there. So that's the one thing, you know, it is an idea that Christo got away from, that took away from the Gitai to work in miniature. Secondly, it is a form of mail art. And the third one, and I put the Japanese word there at the bottom, Nengajo, because that refers to the Japanese tradition of sending New Year's greeting cards to friends and family. And it is a big thing. It is still used up to today. When he was there, of course, the artists would make their own little nengajos, their original artworks, and send out. And I think he cottoned on to that particular idea. So absolutely charming jewel-like works. And all three yours for only 6,000 to 8,000 rand. Okay, that's all I want to say, Matthew.
Thanks so much, Wilhelm. That was fantastic. And as we were saying, you know, as ever, you're just a fountain of knowledge. You can listen to you talk every day. It's amazing. I think, you know, this is, I suppose, part of one of the joys of working at Strauss & Company is that you know, we've got such amazing specialists who have the time to share their knowledge with us. And I think it's one of the virtues of our Zoom program. So I'm sure we'll all be back again to hear what Wilhelm has to say. I think we've got some more programming coming up for our Zoom talks for the duration of our current online sale of modern, post-war and contemporary art, decorative arts, jewelry and wine. And that sale is closing on Monday evening. So I think there'll be, again, some talks in our regular 4 o'clock slot, and also again then on Monday at 4 o'clock, where I think generally the specialists try to speak about lots that haven't had any attention or that are begging for a few bids. So we try to encourage some bidding in the last couple of hours, and I think some more specialists will be on the line then. But otherwise, please, if there are any inquiries on how to register to bid or how to negotiate our website, please don't hesitate to contact either our Johannesburg office or our Cape Town office or one of our specialists. And we're all familiar with the website and very happy to help. So, ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy the rest of the sale. And thank you for joining Strauss & Company's first Zoom talk for 2021, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.